The galaxy was vast, ancient, and full of civilizations that had already mapped every corner of known space, or so they believed. The High Council of the Coalition of Worlds prided itself on its logic, precision, and understanding of the cosmos. When the Terrans arrived, the Council viewed them as a curious anomaly, young, reckless, and impossibly ambitious. Humanity's homeworld was a modest blue planet orbiting a yellow star, insignificant by galactic standards. Yet from the very beginning, they carried with them a peculiar defiance, a refusal to accept what the rest of the galaxy called impossible. It began with a rumor spreading through the interstellar networks. The Terrans had proposed the construction of something called the Bridge of Dawn, a megastructure that would span the unstable rift between two star systems separated by a region of fractured spacetime. Every known physicist, engineer, and strategist from dozens of worlds declared it folly. The rift of Kavaris was chaos itself, matter twisted, energy torn apart, time distorted. Ships that entered never returned whole, if at all. To imagine building something stable across it was madness. When the Terran envoy first presented their plans to the Council, laughter echoed through the chamber. The speaker, a calm man named Captain Darren Holt, stood unmoved as holographic schematics shimmered behind him. "We will build a corridor of anchored graviton pillars through the rift," he said. "We've calculated the resonance nodes. We can stabilize the folds long enough to construct passage routes." The counselor from the Herald species, a being of translucent light and intellect renowned across the stars, leaned forward. "You can calculate nothing in the rift of Kavaris," it said. "The physics are inconsistent. Even our temporal analysts failed. It cannot be done." Darren simply replied, "That's what they said about flight, about space travel, about warp drives. And yet here we are." It was not arrogance. It was the quiet conviction of a species that had built its history on breaking boundaries. The Council denied their request for funding, forbade access to the rift zone, and classified the project as an unnecessary risk. But the Terrans didn't stop. They gathered volunteers, engineers, and dreamers from across their colonies. They pooled resources from mining worlds and orbital factories. What began as a forbidden dream turned into a collective movement. They launched the first fleet of construction ships 5 years later. Each ship was built from a new alloy the Terrans had developed, quantum-bonded titanium infused with lattice-stabilized carbon fields. The hulls could resist the unpredictable surges of the rift. Every piece of machinery was experimental, untested, and born from desperation and determination. The first months were catastrophic. Gravitational storms shredded several ships. The communication relays failed. Energy readings fluctuated so violently that navigation computers melted under data overload. The galaxy watched through distant probes, shaking their heads. The Terrans were committing slow public suicide in their attempt to defy the natural laws of reality. But still, they persisted. Darren Holt, now commander of the operation, refused to withdraw. He led from the front in a command vessel called Endeavor's Reach. Around him were thousands of specialists, engineers who spoke in equations, miners who had become welders in space, and pilots who knew the pulse of the rift like a heartbeat. They built the first anchor deep within the warped horizon, using adaptive graviton spikes to latch onto stable quantum eddies. It took months, each moment a battle against distortion fields that tore through space like tidal waves. When the first anchor held, the cheers could be heard across every Terran colony. Humanity had pierced the veil of the impossible. The second phase began, constructing the corridor, a lattice of connected energy fields, each node resonating at specific harmonics designed to counter the distortions. The Terrans discovered that the rift followed a pattern, a chaotic but predictable pulse, a rhythm buried within madness. They learned to dance with it, adjusting their frequencies in real time. Other species began sending observers. The same council that had mocked them now dispatched scientists to witness this defiance firsthand. The Hurl envoy reported back astonished. "They adapt faster than we can calculate. They improvise before we finish predicting. Their minds bend rules instead of obeying them." Year after year, the Terrans toiled. Generations of engineers carried the dream forward. Each structure built upon the bones of the previous failures. They learned from every loss, every explosion, every distorted echo of destroyed machinery. They built simulators, then scrapped them when reality refused to match theory. The Bridge of Dawn became less of a project and more of a legend, a testament to the stubbornness of humankind. Eventually, the impossible happened. A small ship, no larger than a freighter, passed through the rift and emerged intact on the other side. Its pilot, a quiet woman named Commander Elise Ray, transmitted the message that shook the galaxy. The bridge holds. Every broadcast network replayed her words across the stars. Worlds that had dismissed humanity now watched in silent awe. The rift of Kavaris, long considered untamable, had been crossed. The Terrans had not merely defied the laws of physics. They had rewritten them through perseverance. When the council convened again, the High Speaker addressed the chamber. "We must reconsider our understanding of these Terrans," he said. "They have achieved what our greatest minds declared unachievable." A representative from the Venner species, known for their logic-driven culture, offered a quiet observation. "They do not reason as we do. Where we analyze, they act. Where we fear failure, they learn from it. Their genius is not in their intellect, it is in their refusal to surrender." The Terrans completed the Bridge of Dawn 23 years after they began. It stretched across the void, shimmering like a ribbon of light against the fractured backdrop of the rift. At its core pulsed a steady rhythm of stabilized energy, an artificial heartbeat that tamed chaos. It became more than a passageway. It was a symbol of unity. The entire galaxy now had access to unexplored territories beyond the rift. Trade, exploration, and cooperation flourished. Commander Holt stood before the completed bridge, older now, his hair streaked with silver. Reporters from dozens of worlds gathered around him, their cameras hovering in orbit. One asked, "What drove you to do it when everyone said it was impossible?" Holt smiled faintly. "Because we wanted to see what was on the other side." His words became immortal, etched into the archives of every species that once doubted humanity. The bridge became a monument, visited by millions each year. Its maintenance was entrusted to a council of engineers from across the stars, though it remained in spirit a Terran creation. Over time, the Bridge of Dawn changed the political and cultural landscape of the galaxy. The Terrans gained respect, not through conquest or wealth, but through sheer determination. Young scientists from distant worlds studied Terran methods, trying to understand the mindset that had achieved the impossible. They found it difficult to define. It wasn't raw intelligence or superior technology. It was the relentless spark that refused to accept limits. Centuries later, historians would call it the turning point of the Age of Barriers. For the first time in recorded history, the collective civilizations began to dream again. Not in safe, logical increments, but with the boundless audacity of those who dared to imagine more. And yet among the Terrans, the Bridge of Dawn was only the beginning. New challenges arose. Black holes that devoured light, dying stars collapsing into unknown states of matter, and regions of space so dense that even gravity broke its own rules. The galaxy learned a new phrase, passed among scientists whenever the impossible loomed before them. If the Terrans can build across the rift, what can't we do? Generations later, when the first interdimensional rift drive was tested, its designers stood beside a mural of the Bridge of Dawn. They traced their lineage of discovery back to that moment of defiance when a small blue planet had proven the universe wrong. The Terrans had built not just a bridge across space, but a bridge across belief. And somewhere in the silent vastness beyond the stars, the rift of Kavaris pulsed steadily, echoing the rhythm of the human heart that refused to stop.